So this is a remake of the original Wolfman from 1941. It's not great. Um, they take some elements from the first movie. I think. I'm not sure. It might just be a coincidence. In the first movie, the original from 1941, the Wolfman character, he has not the greatest relationship with his dad. He's not scared of him. He doesn't treat him like shit. And they are both adults, though. In this movie, he's estranged from his dad not too long after he becomes 18, is what's implied. He doesn't say 18, but he's like, as soon as he's old enough, he gets away. So I would assume 18, maybe 17, 16, depending on whatever state they're from, what a legal adult is considered to be. Um, so yeah, the first 9 minutes are pretty tense. I thought they were pretty good. They go hunting in the woods. The kid, for some reason, has a fucking rifle too. He tries to go and kill the deer. Dad gets pissed on him and he's like, "You're fucking supposed to stay by me the whole time." And he actually says it like that. Like, he says the F word at his kid. Like, he thinks it's dangerous for his kid to wander off, but not for him to have a loaded fucking sniper. That's parenting 101, I guess. Um, they hear something, so he tells them to get into like a tree thing. I forget what he calls it. I've seen these before. People use them for hunting, period, not just deers. I think they call it like a bellow or something. So they decide to hide in it, and you hear something climbing the ladder. And you think at any second a werewolf's gonna pop up and he's gonna have to shoot the werewolf. But it doesn't happen. Instead, the wolf gets distracted by the deer that they were hunting earlier and goes and kills it. Now, this happens in the day. This happens in the day. So, werewolves can be werewolves in the morning, I guess, in this universe, even though it's going off the original werewolf. Then we get a little scene with a kid walking in on his dad, and he's talking about how he has to kill the werewolf for his son. And then it bizarrely cuts to 30 years later. I thought that was a weird choice. It feels like a weird place to just stop. I felt like we should have got a few more minutes with the dad. Especially since not too long later they're introducing us to a character named Derek, who was apparently at least a what do you call it? I had to look it up. I knew the word started with an A. An acquaintance. They don't say he was friends. He doesn't seem too excited to see him. And when he dies, he doesn't have that much of a reaction. So I think he was more of like an acquaintance when he was a kid that he like hung out with because he really didn't have that much of a choice since they live out in the middle of nowhere. I think we should have met Derek, even if it was just for like a minute. So when we're introduced to adult Derek, we could be like, oh, he's the little kid we saw earlier. But no, they just randomly introduce this guy named Derek, and he's like, oh shit, I know you. There's also this dumb little gag throughout the movie that I personally thought was stupid. With like the dad's not supposed to cuss, and if he does, he'll put money in a swear jar. That is just such an overused thing in movies, and I don't know why they're using it in a horror movie. Derek, so the reason they're even out there with Derek is because the main character, Blake, his dad died, supposedly. They finally got a notice in the mail, so he's going to go pack up his shit from the cabin in the middle of nowhere. And he decides our relationship isn't working out the best. You work too much. Maybe we should go out to my dad's cabin and pack up his stuff and just have a weekend there or something. And they decide to do that, and he gets lost. He thinks he knows where he's going, but there isn't service, so he can't really check. And the Derek guy decides to help him. It is still daylight when he decides to help him. Apparently, it's so far away that the scene cuts to fucking it being nighttime now. Very strange choice. The wife was already very uncomfortable with Derek getting in the car. I don't think she would have let him be in there that long. I really don't. If she was that uncomfortable with him, she would have started to get suspicious that it was taking so long to get to the cabin. And I don't know why I think they're trying to use him as a red herring character, like he might be a werewolf or something, or he might be a bad guy, because he just acts off the entire car ride and the entire time we know him, until eventually they run into a werewolf in the road and they drive off the road to not hit the person because he thought it was a person, and then Derek's killed by the werewolf. They don't really show it, but he gets dragged off by the werewolf. And they run to the cabin and get locked in. And that is where we spend the majority of the fucking movie. This movie had so much potential. We had a flawed relationship that they were trying to make better. This isn't some dumb shit like Cujo, where the wife cheats on the husband, then at the end of the movie they're all A-okay. They were actually trying to solve their problems, spend more time together, fix their relationship. That could be a cool concept to put in a horror movie, but they just don't do much with it. I enjoyed watching this movie. It was very tense at times, but it just isn't interesting because they're spending their time in one location and not that much happens. It's a lot of talking, a lot of them going, oh, I don't know what's going on. And apparently, when the werewolf swiped at the window, that I didn't really thought it scratched him, but apparently it scratched him. So he's infected. I don't know if that's ever been a werewolf rule, is that if you get scratched by a werewolf, you get infected. I think it's bit. In American Werewolf in London, the main character gets fucking mauled. So I'm pretty sure he gets bit during that, though. It's just very, very strange choice to have him get infected by a scratch. But I guess they didn't want to show the werewolf yet, because we don't see a werewolf until about an hour and 12 minutes in, and into this hour and 30-minute movie. This movie, it says it's an hour and 42 minutes. 12 of it is credits. Credits are usually decently long. I don't think they're usually 12 minutes long. Wow. Don't know why they took so long. And they're going for the more classic appeal, where the werewolf looks human. More human. I personally prefer when it is a big furry creature that stands on two legs. That's the werewolf I know. So I didn't really like the choice to make it that, but that's just my personal opinion. That doesn't mean the movie's bad if I don't personally like the design, because it's not a bad design. They do some interesting stuff. I don't think this has ever been explored, at least in any werewolf movie I've seen, which I've seen quite a bit. They explore the fact, they do the basic stuff like his fingernails falling out, he's puking up teeth. That is basic werewolf stuff. But they explore something that I don't think has ever been explored in a horror movie, where he starts not to be able to understand English anymore. He can't understand it because he's turning into a wolf, and you know, obviously wolves don't understand English. So we get like his point of view where it's distorted and he can't understand what they're saying. I think that's very unique and I really liked that. Eventually they decide to go outside because they notice that the dad has a truck. Fucking that's been there for like what, 30 years? I think that is how long he hasn't seen his dad for. And they decide that they should just use it. I mean, the werewolf hasn't done that much. At one point, it attacks the main character, Blake, by like grabbing his foot when he stupidly stands by a door. He knows it's there, by the way. Like, it's not just him stupidly standing by a door. He, at this point, has heightened werewolf senses, which was another cool detail they explored. Like, where he hears this thumping upstairs, and you're like, oh shit, the werewolf got in. And you're telling him, no, don't fucking open the door. And when he opens the door, it's just a spider crawling on the wall. But because of his hearing, it sounds much louder than it actually is. Which was so cool. I really liked that. He sees the werewolf walk by a window. He knows where it's going. And he stands by the door when he should know, even though like they do say that he doesn't understand that he's sick and he's changing. I mean, it's clear at least later that he does understand it, but I think if you have a good sense of smell and you already fucking saw with your own eyes that the werewolf's out there, why would you stand by the door? He stands by the door and the werewolf attacks him. His wife hits it with a hammer, and it goes away. And it just never comes back. It just broke a hole in the house. We never like see them fix it or anything. Like it broke a little hole in the door. And it just never comes back, I guess. So, like I said, I'll go back to the car thing. They're trying to escape with the truck. It attacks the windshield. And it breaks like a piece off of the car. I guess I think it makes it unusable. I don't know how cars work because they never try and use the truck again. Even after both the werewolves are dead. So, yeah, they decide to like hide on this thing that's like thin fabric while it's stuck in the car windshield. And the werewolf goes inside the thing and cuts the fabric. And the girl almost falls in, but they catch her. The dad decides to pull like a little quiet place moment, but he doesn't die, where he tries to sacrifice himself for the kid. He jumps down, he fights the werewolf off screen. Apparently doesn't kill it, because it later comes back. So now they're in the house again. Eventually the dad, he obviously at this point realizes that he's turning into the creature that's attacking them. So he decides to leave. They already established that he has good sense of smell and hearing. So the fact that he doesn't know the werewolf is on the other side of the door is baffling. He gets attacked by the werewolf when he tries to leave. It's a cool, supposed to be jump scare moment, He's leaving the house to protect the family, and he gets attacked by the werewolf. So maybe the directors didn't think that much into it, the writers. Didn't think that much into it. But it's really fucking stupid. Because he's a werewolf now. Like, not too long later, he turns into a full werewolf. He should have fucking known he was out there. So, he kills the werewolf by biting it. He still has some sense of his humanity. He doesn't tell his wife or anything, but I guess the wife figures out that that werewolf was the dad. Because he looks at it, and there's, like, a tattoo that his dad had. And then he goes back outside, like, what he was originally trying to do. And then the wife has a little conversation with the kid about how dad's sick and she wishes he was better. And the wife's like, I do too. And she was like, oh, his dad gave him that sickness. So apparently she worked out that the werewolf that he just killed was his dad. I don't know how she figured it out. I'm not saying she's dumb or anything, but it's not like she goes over to the body and sees the tattoo too. And obviously she didn't know his dad growing up. Maybe he showed her pictures of the estranged father that he hasn't talked to in 30 years. Or, hell, maybe she just put two and two together and was like, oh, the werewolf that's attacking us is the dad that went missing, even though they think he's dead. I don't get it, but she figured out that the werewolf's the dad. Somehow, he gets back inside the house after he leaves, like not too long later. We get a little bit of a werewolf transformation with him. His, more fingernails crawling out, falling out, and long nails coming in. And he snaps like his own jaw, like pulls it down more to look more like a werewolf or some shit. I didn't know what he was doing. So now he's fully a werewolf. And he somehow silently makes it back into the house somehow. And he appears behind the daughter and she like screams, and he's not even really trying to attack them. It's super, super lame. Like, once we're with this werewolf now, he doesn't really do much. Like, I guess maybe he's trying to control himself, like we see in a later scene. But it makes for very lame shit to watch. She like stabs him, and instead of like attacking her, this werewolf is fucking trying to take it out of her hand. Like, he's like trying to grab the knife. Like, she's trying to stop him from grabbing the knife out of her hand. And he's only trying to grab the knife. Like, nor the wife nor the daughter get any injuries, which is not like I wanted them to. But they're fighting a fucking werewolf, and he's fighting really stupid. They run outside and hide in a barn. He uses, like, I guess, like, night vision. I think wolves have that. Like, a lot of animals have that to see where they are. But he doesn't notice the bear trap that she set up. So he steps in a bear trap. He gets pissed and tries to come after them. But the bear trap, like, obviously only lets him go so far. So he does what a lot of animals do when they're in situations like that. And he chews his own foot off, which is really cool. It leads to fucking a one-legged werewolf. Well, not technically one-legged. He only lost his foot. He still got both legs. But I'm sure you know what I mean. Like, trying to gallop and shit on all fours. But, he's missing a foot. He doesn't really stubble or anything, but it looks really cool. It's a really cool visual, in my opinion. Seeing a werewolf with one foot fucking running on all fours. It's pretty cool. But they don't close the fucking farm thing back to give themselves more time to run away from it. Like, he's literally not able to get them. He's stuck in a bear trap, and he stops while chasing them because of, like, it pulling on him. Yet, even though we had seen throughout this movie that she would close doors very often when being chased, she doesn't do it this time. to give them more time because it's the climax of the movie. So I guess we can't use up any more screen time of him like destroying the barn, trying to go after them. Because then we'd actually have a good horror movie. You know, a fucking scary scene of him bursting through the barn door after them, pissed because he had to bite off his own foot. They decide to hide in a bellow, you know, the deer thing, like in how the movie started. So clearly it's supposed to be a parallel to the dad hunting the werewolf in the beginning. And now they're hunting their own husband. Her own husband. He climbs up the thing, and this time we actually get to see a werewolf, you know, climbing up the thing. Like last time, it climbed up the thing, but it got distracted and ran after the deer. And this time we get to see it. And I think that's pretty cool. It doesn't attack either of them. They have already established that it's pretty vicious by now, and it doesn't have that much human left in it. It literally has the animal instinct to bite its own foot off. But apparently, as of right now, it's just kind of looking at them both. And the daughter comes to the assumption he doesn't want to live like this anymore. He wants you to end it. She says something like that. And the mother doesn't want to do it until it tries to attack them, which eventually it does. She shoots it, and then the movie just kind of ends. They go into like a field or something, and they try and show you like a cool view. I don't fucking care. There was a really cool scene, really disturbing scene, where when he was turning into a werewolf, he decided to bite at his own arm. Like how, you know, if a dog has an injury on its leg or something like that, a vet will put a cone on it so it doesn't attack at its leg or something. So she ends up like taking the bandages off that's on it because she sees blood leaking down him. And she realizes that like the injury's getting worse and he has like hair on his arm. Like a lot, an abnormal amount of hair. And then he just starts biting the shit out of his arm. It's a really fucking cool scene. This movie had elements of a good movie. It had good character. But it wasn't that great of a movie. It was better than the original, but the original was very sexist and racist. So it's not hard to beat that one.